Hello everyone and welcome back to True Crime Phenomenon. This is Josh coming back with another Jeremy Dewitte video. As we all know, Jeremy Dewitte is a serial police impersonator going back to his first arrest in 1998 for impersonating a police officer while he was in the Police Explorers program. He had brandished his badge at a gas station, stealing $14 in gas, which he was claiming he was coming back to pay for with his city, quote-unquote, city card that he got as an actual police officer, though he was not, and he never returned to pay the tab, so he ended up getting arrested for that. Now, he's currently in prison, like I said, for multiple felonies. He's done all kinds of bad things over his life. He's just not a good guy. This interview is regarding his arrest on March 23rd, 2021, which led to Sgt Vidler getting fired and Corporal Ramsey's suspension. I think this is important because you're going to find in here the criticism of Corporal Ramsey and where that came from, and I believe, in my opinion, it directly came from Austin Moore. So we'll go ahead and get into the interview. Now, this interview is part 2 of Justin Wall from the Professional Standards Division and Austin Moore, the General Counsel for the Orange County Sheriff's Office, on April 30th, 2021 at 10:46 a.m. They had to go back on the record because he realized, oh, I've got some more questions for you. My suspicion, my opinion, I think they probably went back, started discussing, well, what about this, what about that, and they came up with some more incriminating stuff that they could put back on the record. That's my opinion, it's not a fact. Alright, so they kind of go back and forth, and they discuss Corporal Ramsey's interview with Jeremy Dewitte. He seems to think this interview is trying to get him to admit that he's carrying a pepper ball weapon, which, I mean, that's silly. We all know that. He freely admits to it. I'll link the video at the end of this video so you can kind of see what goes on in that interview. In my opinion, I think what he's trying to get him to admit to is that he's impersonating a police officer, which anybody with half a brain, Austin, knows that's what's going on. He wants to be a police officer, and the reason why you defend him is just deplorable. Anyhow, so like I said, I'll link the video in the end. Then he states that Vidler is talking about personal issue. What he's talking about is the fact that Jeremy is telling anyone who will listen, anyone and everyone, every time he gets arrested, pulled over, anytime he comes into contact with anybody that has anything to do with the investigation, Vidler is starting an escort company and he's trying to get him shut down. That's why. All he was doing was clearing the air. Look, I'm not starting a escort company. I have a construction company. Why would I want to do that? So I'll be reaching out to Austin Moore for comments, and hopefully we'll get a response. Who knows? We'll see. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I think he's a weasel. Anyhow, here we go.
This is Sgt Justin Wall with the Professional Standards Section. Today's date is April 30th, 2021, and the current time is 10:46 a.m. And I'm still here with General Counsel Austin Moore, and the interview concluded, but there was a couple other things that I wanted to address. So I'm still here with General Counsel Austin Moore. And Mr. Moore, did you have an opportunity to review the subsequent interview by Corporal Ramsey of Mr. Dewitte, who was after his arrest?
Yeah, after the day that we drafted the affidavit for the unarrest of Mr. Dewitte, I had an opportunity to watch body-worn camera of an interview done by Corporal Ramsey of Mr. Dewitte. So I guess after they arrested him, they took him to whatever their substation is, and it's a pretty lengthy interview. I think it might be an hour long, and I watched the whole thing, and I watched parts of it multiple times. And the interview by Corporal Ramsey is troubling from a legal perspective because the discussion seems to be an attempt by the corporal to prove or elicit some sort of confession to criminal activity, and the criminal activity in this case is carrying the pepper ball gun, and under no circumstances could he have been charged with open carrying of the pepper ball gun, as it's not illegal. And Corporal Ramsey spends an inordinate amount of time trying to develop this charge, and it's again really troubling from a legal perspective because there's absolutely no legal basis whatsoever for the potential charge. And so why would you question someone for 55 minutes about a charge that doesn't exist? It just was very troubling. And in fact, Mr. Dewitte seemed to understand the law better than the corporal.
Okay.
There's also, I don't know, the video goes on, and at some point Sergeant Vidler does enter the room, and he asks Mr. Dewitte some questions. Again, from a legal perspective, as it relates to the charge of either concealed carrying the pepper ball gun, which it clearly wasn't concealed, or open carrying the pepper ball gun, which isn't a criminal charge. Mr. Vidler's questioning or Sergeant Vidler's questioning is concerning, but the other issue has to relates to the subject matter of Sergeant Vidler's questions, and he's asking him about these personal matters, and he's talking about his personal business endeavors and how somebody on social media spread some inaccurate information. It seems like Sergeant Vidler thinks that Dewitte is responsible for starting rumors, and it just is, to me, it seemed completely inappropriate as a line of questioning where Sergeant Vidler's responsibilities are to enforce the law. And so why would you arrest someone, especially if you don't have probable cause for that arrest, and then question them about personal matters? It was troubling for me.
Are you saying the impression you got was that those rumors potentially started by Mr. Dewitte were directed towards Sergeant Vidler?
Yeah, so they were rumors about, it appears that Sergeant Vidler and Mr. Dewitte have a long history, and I know it goes back to at least May 20th, 2019, if not before that, and it is personal. And so the questioning between Sergeant Vidler and the answers between Dewitte at that interview are about Vidler suggesting that Dewitte is spreading rumors and Vidler trying to clear the air about the rumors. Again, completely personal issues, not criminal in nature in any way whatsoever.
Okay. Did you hear at any point Mr. Dewitte make references to asking for an attorney during that interview? Do you recall that?
I do. And so our advice in my office is, when in doubt, if there's any concern that someone has requested an attorney, then you should stop the interview and provide counsel. If I don't remember specifically, I wasn't concerned about the first invocation for the attorney, but there's a second invocation later, and I think even a request to use a phone. I think legally that second invocation would have been problematic from a criminal standpoint if there had been a criminal prosecution, which there won't be because there was no arrestable offense. However, one thing we like to say in our office is that we try not to make it a habit of violating the Constitution, and obviously the right to an attorney under circumstances is a constitutional right, and so we suggest that we err on the side of not violating the Constitution. So yeah, that was concerning.
Okay. Was there anything else related to this that you'd like to add?
No, and I think that covers all of the body-worn camera that I reviewed. I at some point later I saw a video from Mr. Dewitte's point of view. I think it was like a minute long, but it just confirmed the interaction. There was nothing new or special about that.
Are you referring to a body-worn camera worn by Mr. Dewitte?
I guess it was. I guess it's a body-worn camera.
A camera similar to a body-worn camera?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. At some point, that gets turned off. I'm not sure how that happened, but the citizens have a right to film law enforcement. That's a First Amendment right. If it's impeding or interfering with the investigation, then the officer or deputy doesn't have to allow that filming to continue. But if it's not, that is a right that citizens have. So I couldn't exactly determine how the camera got shut off, but if and it's not clear that if it was shut off by Sergeant Bidler, if he did it because he thought the camera or the filming was impeding the investigation. So, but yeah, that's the only other video that I saw.
Okay. All right. That concludes this interview. The current time is 10:54 a.m.
All right, you beautiful people out there, thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. If you've made it this far, you probably see the video I was referring to, the interview, linked up here. Go ahead and click on that, watch that interview. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you think he's talking about trying to get Jeremy to admit that he carries a pepper ball weapon? Or do you think he's trying to admit that he's trying to look like a police officer? Which I think we all know what the answer is. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.